The 2026 Clash Royale meta is notoriously volatile. Between the rapid release of board-clearing evolutions and the sheer dominance of cards like the Spirit Empress, the battlefield shifts entirely from one month to the next. To keep up, players are pouring months of accumulated gold and elite wildcards into whatever deck currently sits at the top of a tier list. That investment is entirely unprotected. The moment a balance patch drops, or a player climbs high enough to hit a skill wall, those maxed out cards suddenly stop winning games. Choosing a deck is an economic decision, balancing two paths: timeless micro mastery and macro meta power. Cycle decks demand rapid-fire inputs, but using cheap baseline cards means interactions rarely change. Conversely, heavy beatdown requires low execution, but relying on over-tuned cards makes it vulnerable to patches. Evaluating a deck strictly by its win rate ignores the actual cost of playing it. We must look at the long-term return on your resources. Building your deck based on economic sustainability, rather than chasing a popularity contest, protects your account progress from being reset by the next patch notes. The timeless micro-investment path is built on classic control and cycle decks, like the traditional 2.6 Hog Rider or Minor Poison. Playing these decks require rote memorization. You have to commit exact, pixel-perfect tile placements entirely to muscle memory. This matrix reveals the trade-off: high upfront skill, but low risk of obsolescence. To safely pull a Hog Rider to your King Tower, you must cast the Tornado precisely on the third tile from the King, exactly as the Hog reaches the spell's outer radius. Mastering that single interaction reduces the damage you take in hundreds of future matches. No balance patch can take that geometric knowledge away from you. The tax on this strategy is physical endurance. Playing a high action per minute rate every single game is mentally and physically exhausting. If you misplace a 1 elixir skeleton by a single tile, a heavy enemy unit will bypass your distraction, connect with your tower, and immediately cost you the match. The investment remains viable across years of updates, but it makes for a brutally punishing experience during casual gaming sessions. The macro beatdown investment path takes the opposite approach. Here, you are investing in heavy golem or elixir pump decks. Macro relies on reading the overarching game state. Instead of focusing on physical taps and tile placements, you are evaluating timers and resource advantages. On the Matrix, this middle ground requires less immediate physical skill, but carries moderate risk against meta shifts. The work happens in your head. You must track your opponent's exact elixir spending and card rotation to know if their main counter is ready. An elixir pump takes exactly 51 seconds to turn a profit. By tracking the opponent's resources, you know the precise second you can drop a 6 elixir building without being immediately overrun. When executed correctly, you enter the late game with a resource lead that allows you to build a push exceeding the opponent's maximum defensive damage per second. To build that advantage, you often have to intentionally ignore enemy pushes in the first 2 minutes, sacrificing your own tower health to bank elixir. There is no defensive safety net. If your overarching game sense calculation is wrong, you simply won't have the resources to defend, and you will lose. The final path is the fleeting meta. This strategy revolves around abusing the newest, highest stat heroes and evolutions the moment they are released. When cards like the Hero Balloon first hit the arena, they possess raw power that allows them to ignore traditional defensive counters. Accessing that power requires capital. You must spend premium currency or drain months of hoarded wildcards to max out these cards before a counter strategy develops. The Matrix shows the risk. You are paying a premium to bypass the skill requirement, leaving your progress completely exposed to the next developer intervention. Initially, the outcome is a rapid trophy climb. The sheer stats of your deck carry you to new personal bests, masking flaws in your actual gameplay. Relying on overwhelming card stats prevents you from learning proper timing, stunting your foundational habits. Eventually, the developer balances the game, dropping a patch that reduces the card's health or damage, bringing its power back in line with the roster. Chasing a short-term advantage often leaves a player with maxed-out cards that can no longer compete, effectively turning their accumulated resources into permanent deadweight. There is no absolute best deck. There is only the deck that matches your specific resource constraints and lifestyle. To decide where to put your gold, look at your limits. If you're strictly free to play, you need efficiency. Do you enjoy focusing on precise tile placements and rapid inputs? If yes, commit to the timeless micropath. Pick up 2.6 Hog Rider or Minor Control. You will face a learning curve that requires hundreds of matches just to survive. But once you master it, the value of those cards remains high across years of updates. If you answered no, if you have a flexible budget or just want to play a few low-stress matches after work, your path is different. You should invest in macro beatdown or embrace the current meta trends. Accept that your deck is a depreciating asset. You are trading your gold and wild cards for lower stress victories right now. Do not let a generic tier list dictate your in-game economy. Playing a deck that actively fights your natural playstyle is the fastest way to exhaust your resources and your interest in the game. Sustaining your progress depends on choosing the specific type of friction you're willing to live with. You can choose the friction of endless, grueling practice, or you can choose the friction of endlessly upgrading new cards. Make your choice and spend your gold accordingly.